Okay, go ahead and take a breath. A nice deep one. You do that every few seconds without even thinking about it, right? But have you ever really stopped and wondered where that breath goes? Well, today we're going to follow a single breath on its incredible, hidden journey deep inside your body. Let's get started.
But first, let's start with a puzzle. We think of our lungs as having one main job, breathing. It seems pretty simple, but what if I told you they're actually juggling two vital, totally separate missions at the exact same time? How can one organ run the main business for the entire body while also taking care of its own building maintenance? That's the mystery we're going to solve today.
So here are those two jobs right here. On one side, you've got the main business, gas exchange. That's bringing in the oxygen every single cell in your body needs and hauling out the carbon dioxide. But then there's the building maintenance. The lung tissue itself needs its own supply of oxygen and nutrients to stay alive, just like any other part of you. Two very different jobs, and as we'll see, they need two very different systems to get them done.
Okay, our journey officially begins the second that air enters your body, through what we call the upper airways. And this isn't just some simple doorway. Think of it more like a high-tech processing plant that gets the air ready for its deep dive into your lungs.
The first checkpoint for our breath is the nose. Now, you can picture it like a house with a central wall running down the middle. That's the nasal septum. And off to the sides of this hallway are these sort of hidden secret rooms called the paranasal sinuses. And they play a really surprising role in how you sound and even how heavy your head feels.
So what exactly are these sinuses doing? Well, they're basically hollow, air-filled spaces inside your skull. This design is just brilliant for a couple of reasons. First, it makes your head a whole lot lighter than it would be if it were solid bone. And second, and this is the really cool part, they act just like the hollow body of a guitar, giving your voice its unique tone and making it resonate.
After the nose, our breath flows into the pharynx, which is really just the technical name for your throat. It's basically a muscular tube that works like a busy crossroads in a city. Both air on its way to the lungs and food on its way to the stomach have to pass through here. It's the last place they travel together. So, our breath has made it past that busy intersection. From this point on, it needs a dedicated, protected airway. This next part of the journey is all about a very clever gatekeeper that directs traffic and the superhighway that speeds the air right along to where it needs to go.
Now, we all know the larynx as our voice box, right? But its most important job, its number one primary function, isn't making sound. The larynx is fundamentally a sphincter, a muscular gatekeeper. Its main purpose is to slam shut when you swallow, making absolutely sure that food and drink go down your esophagus and not into your lungs. Making your voice is just a really clever bonus feature.
16. What in the world does the number 16 have to do with breathing? Well, that is the number of C-shaped cartilage rings that make up your trachea, or your windpipe. You can think of them like the steel hoops reinforcing a tunnel. Their job is to provide rigid support so that this crucial highway for air never ever collapses.
Okay, from the trachea, things start to get really complex really fast. The best way to visualize what happens next is to picture a tree flipped upside down. The trachea is the trunk, and from there it just begins to branch and branch and branch again. This whole design has one goal: maximizing surface area to make gas exchange as efficient as possible. And this branching happens in very clear stages. First, the main trunk, the trachea, splits into two big, thick primary bronchi, one heading to each lung. Then, those split into secondary bronchi, which are like large branches reaching different sections of each lung. And finally, those split again into even smaller tertiary bronchi, like tiny little twigs delivering air to every last part. Now what's fascinating is that these two main branches are not identical. The right primary bronchus is shorter, it's wider, and it's much more vertical. It's almost a straight shot down from the windpipe. The left one, on the other hand, is longer, narrower, and it branches off at a much sharper angle. And this has a real-world consequence. If you ever inhale a small object, like a peanut, it is far more likely to end up in the right lung, simply because it's the path of least resistance.
Those tiniest branches, those twigs, they lead to something called bronchopulmonary segments. And they are so important that they're described with this powerful quote. See, each segment is a completely self-contained, independent unit of the lung. This is a total game changer for medicine. It means if a surgeon needs to remove a tumor, they can take out just that one single unit, leaving the rest of the lung to work perfectly.
All right, our breath has traveled all the way down this incredible branching tree, and it has finally arrived at its destination, the lungs themselves. And these spongy cone-shaped organs, they aren't identical twins. They are each uniquely shaped to fit perfectly inside our chest.
If we put them side by side, you can see the differences right away. The right lung is a bit of a brute. It's wider and heavier, but it's also shorter. That's because the liver sits right underneath it, kind of pushing it up. It also has 3 lobes. The left lung, though, is taller and narrower to make space for the heart, which tilts over to the left side. It even has this little indentation called the cardiac notch where the heart just nestles right in, and it only has 2 lobes.
And now that we've journeyed all the way from the nose to the deepest parts of the lungs, we can finally solve the puzzle that we started with. We have all the pieces. It is time to understand how the lungs pull off their 2 completely different jobs.
So let's ask it one more time. How is it possible for one single organ to breathe for the entire body while also feeding itself? The answer is as elegant as it is simple. It has 2 completely separate circulatory systems working side by side in the same space. And here it is, the big reveal. On one side, you have the pulmonary system. This is the main business. It brings all of the body's used up, deoxygenated blood to the lungs for an oxygen refill. This whole system serves the entire body. But then, completely separate from that, you have the bronchial system. This is the building maintenance. A totally different set of arteries branches right off the aorta to deliver fresh, oxygen-rich blood directly to the lung tissue itself, the walls of the airways, the glands, to keep them alive. 2 jobs, 2 distinct plumbing systems. It's just that elegant. You know, from the sinuses that shape our voice to the tiny segments that allow for precision surgery, this whole respiratory system is a masterpiece of design. It's an intricate chain where every single link is absolutely vital. We've seen how perfectly it all works together, which leaves us with one last crucial thought. What happens when just one of these tiny, brilliant parts fails? Thanks for coming along on the journey.